Hello everyone, my name is Idiotic Synergy, and today we're going to talk about female Space Marines. For those of you that don't know, female Space Marines is an argument that's been on Twitter and Facebook since the birth of Christ. At this point, basically, this argument has been circulating online circles for the past few years, and honestly, the argument about female Space Marines is dog shit. I hate this argument. I'm pretty sure it started off as something interesting, but has now turned into nothing more than a shouting match. And any opinion against or for just gets disregarded with petty insults, and that's it. Basically, here's my opinion on female Space Marines if you care enough, which I'm just making this just so I can get this out my head, because over the past couple of months it's been sort of there, and I really fucking hate the argument, and I've always wanted to make this video, but my god, I hate this argument. Should female Space Marines be a thing? No. Why? Because of established law. Not only that, Space Marines aren't even the main characters. To say that Space Marines are the main characters is so odd to me. Space Marines aren't the main characters. Yes, they're over-marketed, but blame Games Workshop for that. However, like I said in one of my videos talking about why there's no good guys in Warhammer 40k, Warhammer is essentially a battle of perspectives, meaning that whatever your chosen faction is, that should be the main character. Should there be more books about the other factions? Yes! Definitely. There should be a lot more Eldar books, there should be a lot more Necron books, Orc books, Tyranid books. I would like a book about the Tyranids. I would like to see more Tyranid books out there. And granted, you can't do a lot with Tyranids, but I think it would be interesting if you had like a Imperial Guard team try and work out what the Tyranids are. That would be really interesting. Or like have a bunch of guards try and hunt down Old One Eye, but they slowly get picked off one by one. That would be really interesting. But unfortunately, that's Games Workshop for you. Basically, they try and push Space Marines because they're easier to market to a lot of people. And the whole female Space Marine argument is just dumb. It's just dumb. Uh, you shouldn't complain about female Space Marines because there's a million other factions. If you don't like Space Marines, then that's okay. However, you shouldn't then demand that people should like the idea of female Space Marines to such an extent that you start acting superior. And it's the same for the anti-Space Marine crowd as well. I see arguments. I see the arguments, and half the time it's well-meaning, and then all it takes is a couple of people to really just turn it into something horrific, and it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. If you don't like the idea that Space Marines are all male, then just, you know, go to another faction. Or maybe Space Marines aren't for you. However, that being said, there's a compromise. And this compromise might upset people, but what's stopping, other than, moving perspectives, if Games Workshop moved perspectives to focus more on the Guard or Leagues of Voltan, fuck me, Leagues of Voltan are a brilliant compromise. Why? Because, right, they're power armor female Space Marines, effectively. They're mixed, different head options. There's no law reason why you can't have an army of just exclusively female Voltan. That I don't understand why people are so right. You want a female in power armor. Sisters, if you like sisters. I personally don't, but that's because I just don't. I don't like sisters. I like the Arco. I like the machines more than the actual sisters. I think the machines are pretty fucking cool, but the actual sisters I'm not a fan of. Especially Repentia. I really don't like Repentia. They don't make sense to me. But Leagues of Voltan are an excellent compromise if you're looking for a power armored female Space Marine type army, because head options, it makes sense. It just makes sense. because they're all mixed in. They've all got similar armor. Some might argue better than Space Marines, and you can even have an army of Ironkin, which are just AI. Another compromise you could do, and this one might prove more controversial for female Space Marines, is that there is no reason why the warp wouldn't affect a Space Marine's gender. And I'm talking exclusively about Chaos now. Why is it that whenever a Chaos lives in the warp, a Chaos Space Marine lives in the warp, they mutate? But wouldn't it make sense if they gender swap a little bit? Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but it seems like it's something that the warp would do to a Space Marine, would be to change their gender constantly. Sorry, got a bit of a sore throat. But that would make sense if a group of Chaos Space Marines became femaled. Femaled? Femaled! No, sorry. Oh, terrible. What I mean is the word femaled, not the idea. I meant the idea could seem contrived, and I'm not a brilliant writer at the best of times, so yeah, that might seem contrived. However, another way you could get female Space Marines technically, and I have to stress this out now, technically, is if Fabius Bile basically uses one of his female mutants and gives them power armor. Granted, what makes a Space Marine is the gene seed, but what's stopping somebody from using the armor of a Space Marine and giving it to somebody that is as strong as a Space Marine, or if not stronger? Granted, it wouldn't be as effective, but would it need to be? Seriously, it's Chaos. Would it need to be if there's somebody that's stronger than a Space Marine and Fabius Bile just put parts of Space Marine armor on them? And then you've got Iron Warriors, which the problem with Iron Warriors I got is the Demon Caliber. But out of the Demon Caliber, you've got a really interesting mutant strain called the Unfleshed. And the Unfleshed don't really have a gender because they're like big childlike soldiers. Well, like big dumb children that have been mutated. And I kind of want to see the Unfleshed again because the Unfleshed is really fucking cool. And they don't get enough attention. They really don't get enough attention, which is a shame. But what's stopping Iron Warriors from making their own Unfleshed again? Not using the Demon Caliber method, but using a different method because their numbers are running low, and just giving them Space Marine armor. Or like discount Space Marine armor. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. And that's how you would get female-ish Space Marines. I say female-ish Space Marines, or female Space Marines-ish. Because there is no reason why the warp wouldn't affect someone's gender. There's no reason why Fabius Bile wouldn't deliberately make more mutant female clones and then just giving them power armor. And there's no reason, well, I guess the reason why the Iron Warriors didn't do the Unfleshed again is because they've got the intelligence of a child. But, that being said, it could work. It could work if they were desperate enough. And because there's not a lot of traitors left, especially now as the story keeps progressing forward and numbers are dwindling, it wouldn't surprise me if they got desperate and tried making the Unfleshed again, because they're as strong as a Dreadnought, and giving them Space Marine armor and basically brainwashing the Unfleshed would be really cool. And obviously the Unfleshed never really had, well, I say the Unfleshed never had a gender, but they did use teenage boys for the Demon Caliber, which again was really fucked up, but what's stopping them from making the Unfleshed from any gender? And not using Gene Seed. That could work if they... That generally could fucking work. Right, I've got it. Because I know with the Demon Caliber it was Gene Seed, that's why they used teenage boys. But what if they tried recreating the Unfleshed, realizing that they need numbers, so they just instead get a word bearer or one of their priests to do some demonic chant, or maybe even a Vashtor or a Warp Smith to make more unfleshed for a sacrifice, or just something, you know? There's something there. There is something there. There is a compromise, but this entire argument of female space marines as a whole doesn't need to happen, because there's no good reason why there needs to be female space marines for the loyalists anyway. For the chaos side, I can think of two factions where that would benefit the most, and that's Fabius Bile and Iron Warriors. Another, you could argue that Fashtor himself would try and make female space marines out of weird demon engines and stuff. You could argue that, hell, but then again, that's semantics, and it's just a pain in the ass, this argument, because every argument gets shot down, and I'm pretty sure someone's going to tell me that I'm a twat. So I'm going to do a Necromunda video now, because I said my piece about female space marines, and there is a compromise. It ain't great. Maybe you've got a better idea, or maybe you just think I'm wrong, and that's fine too. But remember, keep it civil. Yeah, just keep it civil. There's no, I mean, I'm not being funny, but I've seen someone attempt to dox someone over this argument. Like, grow up. It's an argument over fictional space marines. It's not supposed to be taken so seriously to such an extent where doxing someone is fine. I think once you dox someone, you're a prat. And anyway, that's it. I've been Idiotic Synergy. See you later.